in your experience with your parents' support, there
Yeah.
was no like not backlash, but like they didn't try to like fight you or
Yeah, I
push
don't.
you further towards what they wanted, or
Right.
like how was that relationship like? If
There
you
was
can.
definitely a discussion. Yeah, I think when in high school, like when it got closer to graduation, there's like evaluation or sort of like a questionnaire that you have to be fill out. Like a questionnaire that asks what your parents did and just like asks you about your personality, and it's sort of like this questionnaire just back in the '90s. So it's like you can imagine what kind of
The
questions are
90s.
on this. Yeah, yeah. Like it was a different time. So it sort of placed you in somewhere. I don't remember where where specifically that evaluation or questionnaire placed me, but I think it was like based on like my personality and what I liked. I think entertainment was sort of like the direction it went. My mom, my mom was a nurse, and my dad was an engineer technician for a phone company, um and yeah, so like engineer and nurse, and it's like typical Filipino um,
Literally.
professions or whatever. And but I guess based on my
So
personality,
true.
that wasn't my path, I guess, or according to that questionnaire. But I already knew since fourth grade that I wanted to get into entertainment. So
What did your parents want you to pursue?
oh yeah, I mean they. Oh yeah, so yeah, going back to that. Sorry, tangents. Yeah, definitely in the medical field. Like there's discussions. They never pressed it upon me, but I think it was like little sort of like dropping hints here and there, like cousins are nurses. Like, dude, like yeah, it reminds me of that joke once again. Your cousins are nurses. Your so and so's are nurses. Your aunts and your uncles are nurses. And then they talk about like how well they're doing because of the profession that they're in, and they try to find ways to entice you into doing it, but never pushy, never forced. You know, at least I don't remember it ever being pressed upon me or forced upon me to like take a certain path. Yeah, that's probably not a likely story, a typical story. But God, I'm thankful. um,
I think
sometimes
Jay
you
might
have,
have something there.
yeah. Okay, go.
Oh, sorry. I think Jay might have
Yeah,
something there with the whole with Igorot values and stuff. Like,
yeah, 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 yeah,
there's definitely that like kind of passive aggressive pushing, kind of like, hey, look
yeah,
at your cousin, look at your
yeah.
aunties and uncles, that kind of
Right.
thing. But I think there is definitely
But
something
there's
there with the, the whole thing with Igorot values in terms of like, I think you try to influence your kids, but you can't control
Yeah.
them.
Right.
right,
I think that's the
and that
difference, right?
I've found that consistent. That it's not like I mean, they give you structure, for
Yeah.
sure. And they will generally, what I found is that give you as much opportunity as possible, but there's a value in helping someone live into their fullness, into their
Yeah.
wholeness, and whatever
Right.
that might be. And gosh, that's another study, see if there is kind of like that value set within our culture. It might be more a
Right.
recent phenomenon, because I mean, obviously we're no longer in a hunter gathering and agrarian kind of cultures,
Right.
uh living in the mountains, kind of isolated and defending ourselves from next door neighbor trying to headhunt us,
Mm-hmm.
um and us headhunting them. So I mean, it is different that way, but at the same time, I think that adaptation, there's something there that that genuinely
Right.
values like who this person is. Because I remember a story when my uncle was growing up. My grandfather and grandmother wanted to pay for his education. He was the smart guy of the family, right? He
Uh-huh.
actually was. He was articulate, and 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 they were saying, "Hey, we want you to go to school. We want you could do a lot of things. You could be a lawyer." My
Right.
uncle said no. He eventually became a police officer. That's what he ended up doing
Okay.
in the Philippines. But
Mm-hmm.
he said no to that. He didn't want to go to school, and so in hindsight, as he in his old age, he said, "Man, you know." perhaps I should have taken that opportunity, but they didn't
Right.
force him
Right.
to do
Right.
that, and they didn't disown him. They honored his judgment, his call,
Yeah.
for where he was going in life, um, but they offered an opportunity there,
Yeah.
and it was up to him to take it. Now, and I think that's really interesting because as we look at the possibilities, especially younger generations now, because I think
Mm.
that there's more possibility now
Right.
than ever
Mhm.
before for younger generations to and beyond our traditional uh, traditional roles in healthcare or
Right.
military or or some sort of engineering.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but at the same time, when you look at generally those kind of roles, well, they offer certain security, upward mobility for sure,
Right.
Mhm.
and we have an long established kind of place in it
Mm-hmm.
that kind of helps when you're looking at like hookups. Because one of the things I think is a little bit more challenging for us, because especially if you go into a field where there's not too many of us, it's all about who you know
Right.
and about those relationships, and oftentimes you have those like ways to stand into certain places because there happens to be people there who know of you or look like you, and that's generally a pattern
Yeah.
in trying to build up one's career, whereas
100.
especially in entertainment for sure. Oh man, it might be few and far between unless you know someone who knows someone who knows someone.
Right.
So
I'm
so
taking
for
notes.
me, what